problem number 2. It says to create a table and a graph for the ratios 2 to 22, 3 to 15, and 1 to 11. Does the graph show that the two quantities are proportional to each other? Explain why or why not. So start with creating our table. They give us our table with our x value and our y value columns. So our first x value is 2, our first y is 22. Our second x value is 3, our second y is 15. And our third value for x is 1, our third value for y is 11. Now for each of these entries in our table, I can create my coordinate pair so that I'll be able to plot these on my graph and know exactly where things should be. Okay. So for my first one, my x value is 2, so I start at my origin. I come across to the 2. My y value is 22, so I come up to my 22 and draw in my dot. My second value of 3 for my x, I come across to 3, and my y is 15, and that is somewhere halfway between 14 and 16. And my final value, my x is 1, and my y is 11. So again, in between two values, 10 and 12. Now they ask us to draw a line, and I don't rightly see where there could be a straight line among these three things. And if you did them in the order in which they were plotted, your line would go something like this, which is kind of different looking than what we are used to. And so we have to stop and think, are these going to be proportional quantities? Do they fall in our characteristics that we know we have to have? All points on a straight line, and that line going through the origin. So in this case, we can easily see that neither of those qualifications are met. So our answer here is going to be no, because the points do not all appear on a line that passes through the origin. Let's look at problem 3. It says to graph the following tables and identify if the two quantities are proportional to each other on the graph. Explain why or why not. All right, so we want to graph our first one. We will create our coordinate pairs for our x and y values. Our first one here is 3, 1, and we have 6, 2. Followed by 9, 3, and finally 12, 4. All right, if I plot these on my graph, my first one, I come across for my x of 3, my y of 1. The second one, my x of 6, my y of 2. My third one, my x of 9, my y of 3. And the final one, my x of 12, my y of 4. Now, as I look at these, I notice that yes, indeed, they do form a straight line. I can use a straight edge that will connect and pass through each of these points. And I notice that that straight line does also travel through my origin here of 0, 0. So, since it meets both criteria, a straight line with all points on it that passes through our origin, then yes, I can say my answer here is going to be yes, because the points appear on a line that passes through the origin.